We've had a fire in the neighborhood. That built house right there, duplex, triplex, whatever it is, individual apartments.
Authorities say someone set the outside of the building on fire, which quickly spread inside. Investigators have released images of the suspect. You can find those pictures on our website, fox5atlanta.com. There's a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to his arrest.
Not much in the way of rainfall over.
That we secure and we protect the votes. And I have to say, I know I mentioned it last week, but it's really becoming really frustrating for me to continue to have to hear this conversation around how this is some type of disenfranchised moment for Black people or minorities in general, because of the fact that we were encouraging people to put their voter ID numbers on their absentee ballots. That is not a complicated task. We are highly intelligent people, and every single time we continue to make it about that, when it comes to something this simple, it sends a narrative and it creates a message that we are a people who can't figure out how to do what everyone else does. And that is really frustrating for me. So I really hope that we can move past these narratives and start really looking at it for what it is. And it's really strictly about making sure we secure every single person's vote.
Farron, if you have to provide a photo ID for in-person voting, should the same rules apply when you vote absentee?
Everybody says that people don't have IDs in the Black community. Well, they went out and they got all these folks registered to vote. Well, if they don't have an ID, fair fight, and Stacey Abrams can help them get themselves IDs. I mean, I don't see what's so difficult about providing an ID number on your state ID or driver's license. I mean, it's just so childish to be whining and crying like that over something that's an item that is necessary in just about all the things you do in life, like having a bank account. You gotta have an ID. Come on now. Everybody needs to have an ID in life. If they don't have one, Stacey Abrams can help them get one.
Being vaccinated seems to have put us on the right path, at least for now. At the same time, House Democrats on Friday passed President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. It's an effort to spur more vaccine production and jumpstart this economy. There's no doubt it is far too early to declare victory over the virus just yet. Loosen restrictions, failing to wear masks, new variants, spring break, all threaten to produce a resurgence. And that leveling off of cases dropping is concerning. But for now, at least, there's reason to believe that the worst may finally be behind us.
We're one step closer to vaccinating
Schools, for state and local governments, an expansion of unemployment benefits and the child tax credit, and $1,400 direct payments to many Americans. It also would raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, a measure polls show is popular with Americans.
As we advance this legislation, we will continue to fight for 15.
Now, after the Senate parliamentarian ruled the minimum wage increase was not allowed in the bill under rules allowing Democrats to pass it with a simple majority, Senate Democrats are exploring adding tax penalties for big corporations that pay less than $15 an hour. But even as progressives say that does not go far enough,
there is precedent in our history to overrule that ruling or to not listen to it.
It's not clear centrist Democrats will support it.
Don't you think it's reasonable for it to have a flat rate of $11 and then index it from there?
As Republicans overwhelmingly oppose it.
I'm not going to do anything that's going to kill somebody's job. right? When you don't have a job, you get paid zero. There's no minimum wage. The minimum wage is zero.
Joining me now is Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Science, certainly, and it's prescriptive. If we, to build democracy, to save democracy, government, we need to make government work. That's why President Biden's Relief Act is all Repair Act is all about going big. We go big on unemployment benefits, on opening schools and putting shots in people's arms and money in people's pockets and workers and jobs. That's what this proposal does. That's why the House passed it. It's what voters voted for in November. It's what the Senate will do.
There's another way to read your statement. It sounds like you're saying, forget bipartisanship. It's not worth it.
No, I always try to be bipartisan. That's how I get elected in a state like Ohio, which people say is trending more conservative Republican. It's how we get things done. But this is a bipartisan plan that President Biden has put out there and the House has passed. Overwhelming support among the public, overwhelming support among Republicans on making sure on eliminating, cutting the rate of poverty through an income tax credit and child tax credit in half, and opening our schools and providing, putting money in people's pockets with unemployment, with $1,400. All those things are very bipartisan. Just because Senate Republicans don't support it doesn't make it partisan. What's bipartisan is the public support for it to go big. And one other point, Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury, said, if we don't go big, there will be a long-term, I believe she said, generational scarring of our economy. So we can't fall short here. We need to go big with wages, with help for people, with money in people's pockets, and workers in these jobs.
You know, it's an uncomfortable stat, though. There was a bipartisan vote against, technically, this relief bill. Not a single House Republican joined the Democrats, but 2 Democrats joined Republicans in opposing. And I know there's Washington, and there's what we've seen in this polling that you're citing. I've seen those same numbers, too. What's your explanation of why Washington Republicans can't get on board?
Well, the Washington elite are doing it's become a Trump party. It's not a party of reason. It's a party that has turned its back on Mitch McConnell all summer, in June and July and August and September and October, as thousands of people were starting to fall into poverty after we did it right back in March. Mitch McConnell continued to say he sees no sense of urgency. So the Republicans failed. They failed for 10 years. They failed to raise the minimum wage. They failed to provide the kind of help we need. We know what works. We know going big, making government work is the best way to strengthen our democracy. Because, I mean, we know that anti-democratic small d feelings are built on income inequality, and if the gap gets wider and wider in wealth and income inequality and structural racism in this country, we know that we have social problems. We have things like what happened on January 6th, and we've got to make sure that we build democracy by closing income inequality and wealth inequality, and the Biden package goes big and does that.
The Senate, I never made advances toward Ms. Bennett, nor did I ever intend to act in any way that was inappropriate. The last thing I would ever wanted was to make her feel any of the things that are being reported. Carol Lee, that statement
together on. And of course, as a Canadian, I believe that we all need to work together in a more active way. And I'm glad to see the new administration. This is something I spoke with President Biden about directly. It's great to see America re-engage. I think certainly there were things that were more challenging under the previous administration in terms of moving the dial in the right direction on the international stage. But at the same time, you know, we all have democracies that go in different directions from time to time, and the sweep of the work that we need to do together as allied nations in the G7 and elsewhere continues to be really important.
What are some specific areas? I mean, in some ways, this change for many people is simply rhetorical, from Trump to Biden. But what are some concrete sort of global policy initiatives do you believe that the Biden administration can now help push forward?
Well, I mean, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is COVID. The approach that the president is taking on COVID right now much more aligns with where Canada has been for quite a while, grounded in science, grounded in protection of people is the best way to protect the economy, and understanding that being there to support people is absolutely essential so that we can get through this as quickly as possible. We're much more aligned, and quite frankly, the president rejoining the international COVAX facility to ensure that we get through this everywhere, not just in the wealthy countries, is a really positive sign. Another area is on the massive challenge we're facing on climate change, which is the other really big crisis we're in right now that the previous administration didn't focus on that much. And certainly President Biden and I are very, very closely aligned on not just the need to address climate change, but the tremendous economic opportunities linked to moving towards cleaner electricity, cleaner jobs, better opportunities for all of us in the middle class and those working hard to join it.